And 1,000 games for Captain Brayden Schenn.
Hey, this is Brayden Schenn. Subscribe to Locked On Blues.
You're Locked On Blues, your daily podcast on the St. Louis Blues. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, and welcome back to Locked On Blues. I am your host of Locked On Blues, Haley Taylor Simon, talking to you all things about our St. Louis Blues here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Blues is a very special episode because the captain, Brayden Schenn, is set to play in his 1,000th NHL career game tonight against the Capitals. Yes, the Blues are on the road for this one game, but it is still a monumental game for the captain as this is a huge milestone. So what you can expect in today's episode will be an exclusive interview that I had with former first overall draft pick for the St. Louis Blues, Erik Johnson, and what he had to say about Brayden Schenn. While the two never did play together, Erik Johnson and Brayden Schenn are actually friends off the ice. So EJ had a lot of good things to say about Brayden. We're also going to talk about Brayden's career and basically some accomplishments that he has had. And of course, we're going to preview tonight's game against the Washington Capitals. But I really want to keep the focus on Captain Brayden Schenn and all that he has done since coming to the NHL. So let's get into that. So Brayden Schenn, by the way, I have watched him basically play throughout his entire career, right? I watched Brayden a lot when he was in Philadelphia, but contrary to what people might think, he was actually not drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers. He was a first-round 5th overall pick in 2009 to the LA Kings. And I feel like that always kind of gets people like a little bit messed up because they think, oh yeah, Brayden played, for the LA Kings. Well, yes and no. He played 9 games total for LA before being traded to Philadelphia. This was in 2011, this trade. Another player that was a huge player for the Philadelphia Flyers was also Wayne Simmonds that got traded as well to the Philadelphia Flyers. But he was traded to Philadelphia, as I said, 2011. For a 2012 second draft pick that also went with Brayden and Wayne, for Mike Richards, who was the captain at the time for the Flyers, and Rob Bordson. So this was an offseason move. It happened at the end of June in 2011. And Brayden Schenn spent a lot of years with Philadelphia. The thing about Brayden Schenn and his time in Philadelphia is that I personally think he had a great career in Philly. I mean, you look at the 2015-2016 season, putting up 59 points. Now, while the Philadelphia Flyers were never a team that really found their groove after they lost in the Stanley Cup Finals in 2010 to Chicago, they won, by the way. Brayden Schenn was able to play with his brother Luke Schenn. And Luke Schenn, by the way, he hit 1,000 games last season. And these two are the only two brothers in the NHL to both hit over 1,000 games played. And I think that is just such a cool milestone to share with your brother. And I know that the Schenn parents were really excited that the two boys were able to play together. And right now, with the trade deadline kind of approaching, there's been some rumors from some reporters, that Brayden and Luke want to play together again. I don't know how true that is. I'm sure that they would want to, but I feel like they already accomplished that in Philadelphia. And the thing about Brayden Schenn in Philadelphia is that while he did have some good seasons, right? I mean, he put up in the 2015-16 season, as I said, the 59 points. He had 26 goals and 33 assists, right? And he did a really good job. But I feel like when he came to the Blues, that's when he truly was able to get the recognition that he did deserve. And that is something that personally, as somebody that watched him playing in Philadelphia, I was really happy about it. I feel like I grew up obviously watching him with the Flyers, and I was really upset. But I feel like after they got rid of Luke, he wasn't necessarily the same. Now, I don't think he's gonna understand that, right? I just think that it was one of those things that I don't know, just he kind of got a little bit blindsided, I would say. And I also think too, he got traded during what draft was it? It was the 2007, 2017 entry level draft. He got traded. And again, Brayden has talked about this on numerous occasions that he got the call, and it was kind of like a confusing situation. But I do believe that him ending up in St. Louis was for the better for him. Not only has he won a cup here in St. Louis, he became a captain. And this is something that would have never happened in Philadelphia. I'm not saying it because I don't think he's a good enough player. I just think that he was never going to work out in Philadelphia. I think that Philadelphia has had its own struggles, which we know. And for him to go to St. Louis, win a cup, become a captain, while the team has struggled, it has really solidified his career. And I am just super happy for him on that level. But I'm looking at his time here in St. Louis. And while, he hasn't had a great amount of points besides that 2022-2023 season where he had 21 goals and 44 assists, giving him 65 points, most in his career besides the first season he was here in 2017-2018 with 28 goals and 42 points with 70 points total. He is still a big playmaker on the ice. And that is something about Brayden Schenn that I really do admire about him. I feel like he is one of those players that just gives it his all. And growing up watching him, he was my childhood. I'm going to be completely honest with you on that one. I remember I was 12 years old watching Brayden Schenn play his first season here in Philadelphia. And I was so excited to watch him, number 10. And I just remember when, him and Luke together, I was like, this is so cool. It's like the Schenn brothers. And I feel like Brayden has just been such a positive impact with all the clubs that he's been with. I know LA wasn't long, and obviously it didn't work out there because of the trade, but it was for the better. Because if you think about it, he got good opportunity in Philadelphia. He was able to play with his brother in Philadelphia. And then evidently he was able to go to St. Louis and he was able to accomplish something that every single player in the NHL wants to accomplish, and that is to hoist the Stanley Cup. And he's one of those players too. When you think about old school kind of hockey, and I know that he's not necessarily old school, but he is somebody that has been in this league for a long time. And it's just really weird to think, at least for me personally, it's weird to think NHL without Brayden Schenn. And I know for some of you, you might laugh because you may be older than I am and you've experienced more than I have. And I completely get that. But from my perspective, I just feel like he is one of those players that I just grew up with. And another player that we know, Chris Pronger, posted about him today. It's just seeing all these throwbacks of him throughout his career just has made me realize, wow, I have grown up with Brayden Schenn. And he does the intro for Locked On Blues, which is super cool. I've spoken to Brayden on numerous occasions. Last season, when Kevin Hayes was still with us, he was returning back to Philadelphia. And I said to Brayden, hey, do you have any advice for Kevin? Like, you've been in this situation where you've had to come back to Philadelphia now being a Blues player. And he said to me that and he gave some good advice for Kevin at the time, which maybe he can now utilize for, St. Louis. But he said at the end of the day, you got to play your game, keep your head up high. And he still thinks very fondly of Philadelphia. He is taking a much higher road than I would personally, because I don't know how I would feel about an organization that traded me like that during the draft. But I do understand that things do work out. And in hindsight, now looking back, he could say, well, if it wasn't for them trading me, I wouldn't have won a Stanley Cup. That's how I would look at it. He wouldn't have been a captain. There are so many things that he wouldn't have accomplished if he didn't get traded to St. Louis. And I think looking at it from both ends, he really lucked out with both of the organizations he spent time with, not the 9 games with LA, but the Flyers and the Blues. And everybody here in Philadelphia, nothing but love for Brayden Schenn. And St. Louis, obviously, the same way. So it's really cool to have a player that is so well respected amongst 2 different organizations. And I could just not be happier for Brayden Schenn. And I am just over the moon that he gets to play his 1000th NHL career game tonight. But it's funny because as much as I am, and I am excited about it, right? It is really cool because last year, as I mentioned, Luke played his 1000th game, and it was October 17th against the Predators, by the way. And here's the thing. It wasn't last season, it was this season. They're the first, and let me recorrect myself. They're the first to do it in the same season. Okay. 8 set of brothers to reach the milestone. That's what I meant before. And Brayden also said, I've always said you don't get there without the help of tons of people, and family being one, and coaches and players and teammates and people in the organization. Obviously, you have to embrace the day-to-day grind, the ups and downs, and just how hard this league is. But yeah, pretty special that we have the best buddies that push each other every day and get to do it each year. So I'm going to continue on talking about Brayden Schenn, and I actually spoke to former first overall draft pick of the St. Louis Blues in that 2006 entry-level draft, Erik Johnson. And he gave me a really nice bit of advice that he has for Brayden Schenn as he enters tonight's contest for his 1000th NHL career game. But before I do that, I want to talk to you about my friends. I have a lot of friends at Trade Coffee. If you're like me, your morning has to start with a good cup of coffee. But I got tired of settling for grocery store brands that just weren't cutting it. That's why I turned to Trade. And let me tell you, this coffee is next level. Trade is the #1 specialty coffee marketplace in the US, bringing you fresh coffee from over 50 of the country's top roasters. Their experts have tested thousands of coffees, curating over 450 amazing roasts. Whether you're new to coffee or you know exactly what you like, they'll handpick the perfect match for you. I took their quiz and it was under a minute, so super quick, and they matched me with a roast that was fresh, smelled incredible, and guess what? It tasted even better. My first bag was a game changer. It had such a smooth, rich flavor, and I could actually taste the difference from my usual coffee. The subscription makes it so easy. No more last minute grocery store runs or settling for what is ever on the shelf. And if you don't love your first bag, no worries. Trade will replace it for free until they get it just right. Right now, Trade is exclusively offering our listeners 40% off your first order at drinktrade.com/locked on NHL. That's drinktrade, TRADE.com/locked on NHL for 40% off your first order. Again, drinktrade.com/locked on NHL. So prior to tonight's game, all the guys, it was super cool. They were wearing shirts with Brayden Schenn's name on it. And it said like Schenn 10 and then 1000. And the Blues actually did reply to me, and it's actually on their pro shop for $26. I'm not promoting it. I'm just putting it out there that you can actually get it too, because I thought it was sick. I might get a dupe because but anyways, it was really cool seeing all the guys supporting Brayden today, and I was just super pumped up for him. I cannot believe that Brayden Schenn is going to be celebrating this milestone. It's so crazy. It makes me feel old. Anyways, Schenn talked about the trade deadline, and I'm going to throw this in, and then I'll go back to what Erik Johnson said. I just feel like this is important because Shenn's name has been out there. He said, the times I've gotten traded, I didn't expect to get traded, so you never really know. And I feel like this is so full circle, by the way, because as I said, when he got traded at the draft by Philadelphia when they traded him, like he wasn't expecting it. I think he was like playing golf. He told me something like that. Also, he's talked about, his time with St. Louis. It's a business, and that just comes with the flows of kind of where we're positioned. 5 points out of the playoffs, but it's the trade deadline. So some people make rumors. You just got to take it day at a time and just focus on your game and play. 33 years old right now. He has 3 years left on his contract, and he makes an annual $6.5 million. Luke has one more season left. He's 35, and he has 1 season left at $2.75 million. So they did spend, by the way, 3.5 seasons together in Philadelphia from 2013 to 2015. And then Luke, just so you know, back-to-back with Tampa in 2020 and 2021. So yeah, like Luke has more Stanley Cups, but like Brayden's the captain, and I'm biased because I love Captain Brayden Schenn. But you know who else I find to be such a good role model for some of the younger players in the NHL? It's Erik Johnson. Now, I have the privilege of covering both the Blues and the Flyers, which we know by now. I'm very candid about that because there's a lot of crossover between the two teams, I have noticed. Berube, Schenn, Hayes. There's just like a lot of random crossovers. And I even saw Dougie A in the press box at some points in the season, which kind of indicated to me that maybe they were going to be working on something. But anyways, I interviewed Erik Johnson about basically Brayden Schenn hitting the 1,000th game. The reason why is earlier this season, Erik Johnson himself hit 1,000 career games. And both of these players, they have a very similar story, right? They were both drafted by teams. So obviously, EJ drafted by the Blues, Schenn drafted by the Kings. They went to different teams. So I know Brayden did go to Philadelphia at one point, but then he went to St. Louis and won the cup. EJ went to Colorado and won the cup, right? And I feel like they have overlapped, even though they haven't played together, on a lot of similarities. So for me, I knew that they were kind of friendly, and Erik Johnson did confirm that they were friends. And he said that, and he talked about the milestone. So let me tell you what he said. He said, it's super tricky to reach 1,000 career games. I know him personally through other friends, and I'm super happy for him. He's a good person and a good player. Going through that 1,000 games experience myself this year, I can speak to the fact that it's kind of a big buildup until the game. And then once it's over, you kind of have the attention off you because everyone is talking about it. It's a huge milestone everyone wants to hit. And once you hit it, you can sigh in relief. It's a milestone that not a lot of people get to. It takes longevity, durability, and all of those things that help you stay in the league for a long time. It's a great moment for him. And I really liked what Erik Johnson had to say, being in the locker room with Erik Johnson and seeing how he reacted to the 1,000 games. I can tell you that it was overwhelming for him. He is somebody that doesn't really like the attention. And I can kind of get the sense that Schenn might be the same way for my conversations with him, where he's more about the team and not necessarily about himself. And there are some players in the league that are much about themselves and not about the team. And being in a leadership role like Brayden Schenn is, you kind of have to be about the team, right? And that's how he's always been. But Erik Johnson just saying such kind things. It is, I'm sure, overwhelming, and it's just another game. They're playing a really good Washington Capitals team, as I mentioned. So the Washington Capitals, by the way, like they have 212 goals in the season. They're one of the top teams in the East. I don't necessarily think that this is going to be a Blues win, right? And I'm going to talk about that. But what I do think for Brayden is that he needs to soak in this moment. I know for me, that's what I'll be watching tonight. Hoping for a Brayden Schenn goal or a point, or just for him to have a good game, a game that he can remember. And then when the boys head back to St. Louis, hopefully the ceremony and all that stuff will be well worth it for him. It is funny though, because this Saturday, March 1st, they're home against the Kings. And you would kind of think to yourself, Hale, how cool would that have been if he was able to play against the Kings? But I don't really think it has that much specialty as maybe playing against Philadelphia would. Only for the fact that, yeah, he did get drafted 5th overall by the Kings in 2009, but he didn't really play with them much. So I don't think it would mean that much to him. Now, when Erik Johnson played his 1,000th game, he's here in Philadelphia now. He played it against Colorado, but a couple games prior was against St. Louis. So in a way, he was able to kind of maybe see some of his old team, not mates, but just team for Colorado teammates. But one of those things where, obviously Schenn didn't really spend much time in LA, so I wouldn't understand the reasoning why they would have him be healthy scratch for a game. But I saw some people say that, and to me, that just wouldn't make sense. Like, they're trying to go to the playoffs. Like, you're not going to healthy scratch a player so he can have, like, his 1,000th game. Like, no. Not Justin. Was it Nick Leddy who had his 1,000th game last year? Yeah. Like, I think he played it not even I think he played his 1,000th on the road, if I'm not mistaken. Either way, you don't need to have your 1,000th game at home. Now, if you're Cam Fowler and you have your 1,000th game in the Winter Classic and then you score multiple goals, like, yeah, that's pretty cool. But again, I don't think Brayden's going to lose much sleep over the fact that he's not home for his 1,000th game. I'm going to talk about FanDuel, and then we're going to preview tonight's game. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into same-game parlays. I love using FanDuel live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or I'm picking up a player to hit a clutch 3, I never feel like I miss my chance. Plus, the app is super easy to use. And when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Tonight's game against Washington, besides it being about my captain, Brayden Schenn, I don't know how I feel about it because, yes, I have said this numerous times, but the Washington Capitals are such a good team, okay? I get nervous about that, but I think that the boys are just going to have to continue to push harder and harder. Coach Montgomery did talk prior to the game, and he talked because tonight Joel Hofer will be in instead of Jordan Binnington. Again, I think Hofer will be fine, but I don't know how I feel about that. But anyways, coach did talk, and he said, with 3 games in 4 days coming up again, you have to make sure you're balancing out the energy level and make sure that it's good. Both of our goalies are really important to our success. Their transition game is excellent, and I think their work details are really good. And that's what he said about Washington, by the way. So not just the goalies. I get a little bit nervous, not because I don't think that Hofer can do it. I just have full faith in Binnington right now. And I think Binner, the winner, has just been super clutch ever since that Team Canada win in Boston. By the way, I wanted to add about that. The Boston Bruins on TikTok posted a video, and in the video you could hear, and Binnington with the big save. And all I'm thinking to myself is, if you're a Bruins fan, why would you not call out the admins and say, hey, maybe cut that part of the video out, considering the fact that he literally won a cup in your home arena? But you know what? Whatever. I guess I'm the only one that's kind of like, oh, well, that was weird. But anyways, the Blues are coming off of that 7-2 win over Seattle Tuesday night. And the Blues right now are 27, 26-6 as they are getting ready to face Ovechkin and those Capitals. The Blues are also 3-0-1 in their last 4 games, which I'm really happy about. So 7 out of 8 points. But anyways, I think that the Blues right now just need to just continue to take full advantage. The Capitals most recently lost 3-1 to the Calgary Flames. Obviously, Ovechkin was their only goal scorer, which I'm not surprised about at all. But if the Blues play the way that they did, I feel like they could win. Do I think they're going to win? I don't know. I know I say that a lot. I don't know, but I truly don't know. Right now, I want these boys to push for the playoffs. I'm all in again. Call me delusional. Call me crazy. I just want to see the boys in the playoffs. I love playoff hockey, and I love Blues hockey. Again, a huge congratulations to Captain Brayden Schenn on this huge milestone. I cannot wait to talk more about this. And I will be doing an episode probably this weekend as like a bonus episode on what I thought of the ceremony and all that fun stuff that will take place on Saturday. So I will talk to you soon. And like always, how I end every single episode, let's go Blues.